So we start. So dear participants, dear friends, this is an exceptional and emotional moment. We are starting today our 25th Global Digital Encounter. When together with Manuel de Santos, we started this project in May 2020, in the middle of the pandemics, we couldn't imagine that we would have created a project that has such a legacy. So not only presentations like today, but also reports that are published every month and then that are published in compendium every year, readings for our audience. We are extremely proud of this achievement, and we are extremely proud of the splendid academic faculty we have with us. So this is something absolutely exceptional for us, and we really are thankful, first of all, to our audience. You are hundreds of people connected from all over the world, and we are thankful to our esteemed faculty. Today, we will cover a topic, the metaverse, for the second time. This is the first time, actually, in the Global Digital Encounter sessions that we cover 2 times the same topic, from a different approach, of course. And this is the first time we do it because the metaverse is really a thrilling topic that interests the business world, that is a big challenge for society, for consumers, bringing more opportunities, more enjoyments, more challenges and threats. And this is why we decided, in the academic team decided that it was time to do it. We would cover topics, time permitting, such as, of course, what is this metaverse that is so much being discussed? How does it interfere with the good old IP kit? How it moves it for business? How licensing models are completely changed? How the Lex Mercatoria is, of course, affected? What is the impact on data, copyright, and many other issues that we will try to cover in these 63 minutes with the most brilliant speakers in this little planet. We have the honor to have with us Dr. Ulrike Thiel from WIPO. She's the director of the Frontier Technologies at WIPO, and she's in particular in charge of the metaverse and will organize the gigantic conference at the end of March on the metaverse, called the Metaverse Conversation, that will also gather for 2 days participants from all over the planet. So we are a bit precursors in this case, and we are so happy and honored to have Ulrike with us today. In the panel, we have with us eminent academic authorities, Raquel Xalabarder from the Universidad Oberta de Catalunya, who is one of the most famous scholars of intellectual property, and we are so proud that she can be with us today. And we have also with us our colleague Paul Polanski from the Kosminski University, who is a big specialist of the interaction between IP and IT. So this is really something fantastic. And with this team, we really hope to enlighten you under the guidance, the moderation of our esteemed colleague from IE University, Javier Fernandez-Lasqueti, who is also the coordinator of these Global Digital Encounters next to us, Manuel de Santos and myself. So this is a very exceptional moment that I hope you will enjoy, that will enlighten you. I would wish to thank on this occasion all those who support the Global Digital Encounters. This is a pro bono activity. We are so proud of all those who disseminate the information on the encounter, who are next to us on each and every occasion, and we are so proud of our esteemed public. We know that you are hundreds of people connected today. You will be thousands also to watch the video and read the reports. So for us, it is really something special, emotional, and hopefully useful to all of you. So thank you for being with us, and I would wish to leave the floor right away to my colleague and friend, Professor Javier Fernandez-Lasqueti, for moderating this session. And really, please feel free to raise each and every question from the public. We really make this event not to talk for ourselves, but to discuss with all of you. Thank you for being with us.
Okay, so thank you, Laurent. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to moderate this panel and this session that is very, very interesting, of course, and having the panelists we have today that you have introduced to the audience, so that I don't have to insist on it. I'm very, very happy to be here with you and to moderate this session. And let's start by the beginning because, well, what is the notion of the metaverse? Is Ready Player One the promised land of the metaverse? Is the only thing that we can expect from the only thing that is very much that we can expect is what Matthew Ball defined as a series of persistent interconnected 3D render virtual environments that simulate a reality, or could it be something different? Is the metaverse one thing today, will be another thing tomorrow? Who knows? But this is one of the things that we have to start by discussing this issue, and maybe Ulrike can start introducing us to this this question. Ulrike, the floor is yours.
That's a big question. I will try my best. And maybe I'll just start with a little outline. So this is starting with numbers, the 25th encounter in the series. It's also almost exactly 30 years since Neil Stephenson coined the phrase metaverse in his novel Snow Crash that was published, I think, in 1993. And it really is a question now, are we getting into the realms where science fiction is becoming reality? Or is it hype that we're talking about? What are the facts of the metaverse? I can't be your authority on all of that, but I can probably start us off with some thoughts from my sides. And really, what we're seeing is that, for example, COVID has accelerated much of the virtual world. We're seeing academic institutions starting to do teaching in the virtual world. There is a huge initiative in Japan that is using the metaverse to try and put absentee students back into the education system using metaverse-like things. We know that companies that design airplanes are using digital twins to do so. Certainly, without any doubt whatsoever, surgeons and pilots are already training in the metaverse. Wider than that, I'm not sure if anyone has seen the news, but Tuvalu is uploading itself as the first state into the metaverse in response to rising sea levels to preserve some of their culture. And Barbados last year announced the first metaverse embassy. So maybe there is a lot of hype in that, but I think my take for everyone to think away is digitalization is progressing rapidly. It's industry 4.0. It's the virtual world is emerging in very many ways. Now, why are we talking about the metaverse and all these things if the metaverse isn't here yet? And I will finish with a thought that I quite like that I came across that said, we always overestimate the effect of technology in the short term, and we always underestimate it in the long term. So I think it's absolutely right that we're having this conversation right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a hype on this, but there's also a reality on it. That it's a hype curve that has was defined by Garner, etc. So, Raquel, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, wonderful. So,
but
what do you think about it?
I'm a bit more skeptical about it, maybe because, as you can see, Ulrike is already in the metaverse. I'm still with a white screen.
I've already arrived, of course.
Yes, she's already there. She's already there. No, and I think it's you know, it's very timely that we talk about that, and we've been talking about the impact of these new technologies. But I would say I'm a bit more skeptical in the sense that I remember still 20 years ago or 20 something. We were talking about this Second Life revolution, and I think Second Life is still there. There's someone who's still following Second Life, but the world is still not very much the same, but we're still living in this current, you know, real world. So as I understand now, and I'm very poorly equipped to be talking about metaverse, because I was saying, you know, I've never been in any of these metaverses that we have currently already. As I understand now, there's lots of different attempts, different platforms, and different video games, right, that they put together these new immersive experiences. So we could be talking about a bunch of metaverses, but the metaverse in the sense of the internet as we know it today. And I must say, 30 years ago, we never thought that we would have the internet. So I very much agree with you that technology is often underestimated. But I was saying I'm a bit more skeptical about this, the metaverse. I very much agree with you, Ulrike, that there's virtual realities and that technology is going to help us do a lot of teaching and training, and you know, the way we teach and train and learn maybe change. But I'm a bit more skeptical about the metaverse because I understand it requires a lot of interoperability and a lot of continuity of data and synchronicity and all these things that are not there. But having said that, I'm amazed, let me say that companies and even people are investing big amounts of money in buying properties in the metaverse, you know. And I am a copyright scholar, as Laurent was saying, so I'm very much in let's say comfortable with protecting the intangible assets. But something that is so intangible, but at the same time we're valuing it and we're making it tangible and a valuable asset through a blockchain technology, which basically is creating false scarcity. That to me is still something that baffles me. So I'm very much sitting here listening to you all and taking it in little by little.
Yeah. Well, it's quite interesting what you said, Raquel, because, well, on one side, you're raising one of the questions that is on the table. That means, is it necessary to have a single metaverse, or should it be possible to have different metaverses? I read 2 days ago that there's an initiative from 600 supporters to have a single metaverse in which there will be rules that will keep a balance between the players there. But it is and will be an issue, and that's interesting. And the second thing is about the assets. I mean, it's quite difficult to make the differentiation between corpus mysticum and corpus mechanicum here, okay, because you cannot touch anything. But it's quite interesting. But Paul, which is your opinion about all of this?
Yeah, it's not easy, right? It's not easy to define metaverse because there are actually already many metaverses and they are not interoperable. And I would say that we can distinguish between second life type metaverses, which essentially are a 3D world that you access through a web browser. And then you have also other types of metaverses that, for instance, Google Glass wanted to initiate and make popular, which is completely different because then you actually put the glasses on, and you've got integrated information that is being displayed in the glasses. So both ways of consuming information and displaying the information, handling the information are vastly different. And then you can also look at metaverses from another angle, what is the technology that supports storing information? It can be blockchain based, which are modern metaverses, or it can be the old style metaverse, like Second Life metaverses, when you don't have the underlying blockchain technology. So you can already see that we've got at least 4 different categories, and I think more will emerge. And to answer a question, if you will one day see one metaverse, well, it's really hard to say, but judging from history, this is actually how modern internet emerged. In 1970s, we had a lot of different computer networks that were not capable of talking to one another until Vinton Cerf and Robert Kahn came up with this idea of creating TCP/IP protocol. And TCP/IP protocol became one unified language that actually connected all these different networks together, and hence we have internet. So this might happen, but we'll see. I mean, internet to me is not just one revolution. It's it's a set of revolutions that are revolutions within this gigantic revolution. And Metaverse is just one of these revolutions. In which direction it will go? Well, let's see. Let's wait and see.
Yeah. So there are different forces playing this game. I mean, some big companies and institutions and the people and social movements, etc., etc. Don't you think so?
Yeah, definitely. It's a global scene that is being occupied both by large players of the past, like Facebook, and also completely new players, right, that are trying to take advantage of emerging technologies such as blockchain. So we will see a lot of attempts to, overturn global dominant players, like you can see right now with ChatGPT and Google, right? It's suddenly a small company challenges the big incumbent player. So yeah, I think we will see the same thing in Metaverse. But first, the market has to develop. I agree that this is still relatively in its infancy.
So we still have some technical limitations. I mean, in order to go to something like the metaverse that was conceived by Ready Player One. So, and meanwhile, what can we do? And you said sorry. You told us about some experience. Maybe you have others you would like to share with us. Maybe Ulrike, you have more experience I think than others, because well, you are well prepared about that, and you're preparing some surprises for the following days, weeks.
Yes, we are. And I mean, it's right. I think certainly the technology isn't there yet. I mean, there's a really interesting McKinsey report that I think came out last year that talks about the investment that is happening in the metaverse. And clearly there are some big players that believe that in the investment in it, that it will be coming. I think hindrance factors are the factors we still have to overcome. Anyone that's put the goggles on knows how heavy the goggles actually are, and the technology isn't there yet. We're nowhere at the point where you just put on some normal glasses and 3D reality will happen around you. When people are always surprised when they are in a sandbox or in a Second Life, because the graphics can be quite almost old-fashioned computer game-like, and that is simply because we're lacking the processing power and the data and the bandwidth in order to do all of that. So there is, I think, very many moving parts also on the technology side to make that happen. But what I find really interesting is yes, it's some very big players investing in it, but we're seeing, I talked to a company, and this is maybe a glimpse if you join us at the end of March, we will have someone who is working on the first African metaverse. And it's very interesting to see the technological solutions that they're putting in place in order to have it accessible in all sorts of regions of the world. I also think, I mean, I come from point of view, and again, I think that is a World Economic Forum publication that came out last year, the year before, that the perception of the metaverse is actually significantly more positive in the developing world. And that is if you suddenly seem to have the potential for having education, you don't have to travel to university anymore. You don't have the surgeon that you have that has to operate on you, can have a standby in virtual reality to help with all of that. For digital health and education, I think there are some wonderful promises in all of that. But I agree, we're not there yet. It's shaping up, but I think it is really worthwhile talking about it now, because I mean, it comes from all of the work that we've done over the last years. Technology can evolve incredibly fast, so let's try and stay as close to it as we possibly can. Otherwise, it widens the gap between what technology is doing and what we're talking about in the IP field.
Right. So it's good to hear that instead of wasting your money buying some NFTs for your avatar, you can spend some time in education using the metaverse. You know, something that is quite interesting, because I think that let's say the launching or the appearance of the metaverse in the arena caused a sort of confusion in the people, because they believe that the only thing that could be done is this. I mean, to purchase NFTs or to go to a show or something like this. And no, there are many other issues that can be done there. More opinions about this, Raquel or Paul?
I think we can proceed. Yeah.
All right. So we know what's the metaverse, what will be, etc. And the second issue is and it's related to what I just said. I mean, property and the metaverse, the question of digital ownership and the metaverse. So it's a matter of fact, you know, that many companies are making lots of profits selling NFTs for its use in the avatars of the people, and there are some other issues that can make a business on it. But what is your opinion about this from a legal perspective, from a business perspective? Raquel, you were so skeptical on this, so the floor is yours.
No, we were joking about that, but I'm going to say it here. I said, may I say that blockchain is overrated? And I'm going to say it. let me be the one saying it. No, I very much understand that, you know, if you're creating this new world and you need to create scarcity, because at the end of the day, that's a scarcity that puts, you know, a price tag on the properties you're going to be selling. The blockchain technology may be the way to achieve that, but I am still not confident that the blockchain, and I do want to be proved wrong. Don't get me, don't want to be misunderstood here. But I still think that we need, you know, more capacity of processing in order to have blockchain to rule all these, you know, metaverses, if we can talk about this. What for me is still, you know, incomprehensible, if you let me put that in this way, is that we end up creating this scarcity with a blockchain, and then, you know, we're not protecting. The blockchain is still a copy. It's a one copy. If you're buying a blockchain asset of a work, you're not buying anything that relates to the intellectual property of that work, because intellectual property protects the work, the intangible. If you buy a blockchain copy of a work, you still get a chain of blocks. And that's it, as if you could be getting a piece of paper or, you know, a piece of a CD or something. You're not acquiring any intellectual property. And yet it baffles me that this copy, this chain of blocks, you know, is so much valuable, and you get to be paying so much money about that. So I don't know. I'm still also here listening and learning.
No, but it's interesting what you say, because this will be a good opportunity for teachers, professors, etc. of IP law to teach the people about
The
what is
distinction
IP.
between
Yeah, because
and that's very basic.
Yeah, because we all have heard stories about the people that pretended to have rights over the work, etc., and then they had to face a lawsuit or something like this.
And even if they, you know, the distinction between the work and the copy, right? What's valuable is the work, not the copy. You may be paying some money for the copy, but how much money, right? And even then, you know, when they say, no, but this chain of blocks, this blockchain is unique, and the author is not going to be creating any other same chain of blocks. Yes, of course, it may be creating another one with the same work, right? So I don't know. I guess I need to warm up to the idea and learn from it and see how this becomes a real market for intellectual property. Not
well, it may be a question of trust. Don't you think so, Paul? Because it depends on the blockchain to which you rely, and in order to get your alleged rights. I mean, over the corpus mechanicum, etc., etc. Paul, what do you think about this? Because Raquel is challenging the power of technology.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, what can I say? There are different models of blockchain. Maybe I will start with that. There are blockchains that revolve around the idea of scarcity, as you rightly put it. So, for instance, Bitcoin is such a blockchain, right? But then you have other types of blockchains which do not rely on the same concept. There are blockchains that also allow you, other blockchains like Ethereum, that allow you to attach a contract, smart contract, to the chain of blocks. And there are other, like famous Bitcoin, which, well, they do not allow it, or it's really difficult. So it is actually possible to attach certain conditions to a transaction, right, and have it automatically executed, which is unique. But you need to be a programmer to really do it, right? And I want to show students how to write basic contracts in Solidity language, so they understand that you really need to be a programmer to do it. It's not really a job for lawyers. But I think the title of our webinar is correct. I think blockchain is shaking, or has shaken the good IP toolkit, in the sense that the good IP toolkit revolves around the idea, for instance, of a form of a contract, right? In most of the jurisdictions, if you want to transfer IP, you have to do it actually on good old paper, right, with written signatures. Same applies to exclusive licenses. Usually non-exclusive licenses are the only candidate that actually fit well into the digital world. So I think blockchain has shaken this good IP toolkit because it shows that people are prepared to trade in using blockchain technologies without relying on these formal requirements. So from a legal angle, you're absolutely right. They actually not really the owners, but factually, they actually, the sellers receive money to their account, right, on blockchain, and so from that angle, they no longer rely on the traditional good IP toolkit. So it is, from that angle, it is interesting. But linking it to Metaverse, if I may, for a second, there is also another challenge that we see, namely the platforms and how they manage the IP, right? The dominant model, or the old model, was based on the idea that platform essentially grants non-exclusive license to use certain artworks. More modern approach is actually the opposite, that all the rights belong to users, to the avatars, to things they created. So there are different models, also from the perspective of the owners of the platform, that we can see. And I think we will see another challenge, this time coming not from the technical perspective, like blockchain challenging a bit the old model, mainly with respect to formal requirements, but we will see, and we're actually observing it now, I can see how, for instance, consumer protection law is starting to affect IP law, because consumer protection law and legislation has already recognized something like, kind of digital content, or the fact that you can pay with data for a transaction. Even recently, I think Italian tax authority started to challenge Facebook. They said that you didn't pay enough taxes because you actually received a lot of money through data. Like, you didn't earn it, but you got users' data, so you actually earned money, and we want to tax you. So I think this will be another big challenge that we'll observe, that consumer protection or tax legislation will start to mingle in and create even more confusion in that field.
All right, Ulrike, would you like to add something here?
Yes, let me give you maybe a slightly broader perspective, because I know NFTs is a hot topic, and certainly it's a big content that is happening on the metaverse, and I can tell from what everyone's saying on the call, it's very close to your heart. But maybe for the benefit of the audience, I mean, NFTs are certainly not the only content on the IP side that we're going to deal with in the metaverse, just to get really everyone's like brain function going, but my brain explodes because there's so much going on. Just drawing from what we're going to do at the end of March, I recently talked to a very young person who has created India's first virtual influencer. And that virtual influencer has been uploaded into various metaverses and is doing various advertising things, and there's an income stream coming from it. There are designers who are entirely virtual designs, so there are things, and I guess that goes into the copyright content NFTs. There's some fascinating business models where on gaming metaverse platforms you can game, and if you win certain virtual assets, but you can trade them in for physical goods at the end of the day. So there's some very interesting business schemes of like, and I think I see Raquel smiling, from the virtual actually becoming a real thing that you can hold in your hands. And there is virtual designs that are happening, as I said, in the airplane industry. There is questions of digital twins and patenting. I mean, certainly trademarks for virtual goods, and let's not underestimate. I mean, I remember when I was a patent litigator many years ago, there were patents surrounding slide to unlock on various phones. When you think of the graphical user interfaces that are being created in the metaverse, there's a whole set of digital design rights that are coming into it. So why I don't want to take away from at all from the NFT discussion, maybe there is a wealth of, I guess in the same way that we're seeing experimentations with different types of metaverses, we're seeing a whole lot of experimentation in possible business models and income streams trying to be shaped in this new marketplace. And I think that's a lot of uncertainty in all of that, but maybe also value creation. So I'd probably say to everyone in the audience, while it's very nice to dive into one of these topics, to every so often come out and really think, the fascinating bit for me is there really isn't a single IP right that you don't have to talk about when you talk about this new virtual world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Raquel.
May I add something? Because I find it's very nice to be talking about something else that's not the NFTs and all that. But it's a very good point you're making, Ulrike, because at the end of the day, we're going to have so many different assets, or let's call it assets, right? Interests, whatever, rights, that will end up being, addressed by, probably will end up being addressed by the traditional laws that we have. We will have personal data protection, we will have personal rights, image rights, we will have patents and trademarks and copyright, of course, and recordings, and we'll continue using these traditional rights because they are sound, and I think they will provide also solutions for the new virtual world. Maybe we'll have to tweak them a bit, but I'm confident we will make it, as we have been making along history, just adapting our laws to new technologies. But then on the other side, what you were saying, that Paul was saying, that at the end of the day, there's these contracts that the platform set in front of every user, that in order to access the platform, this is the set of rules you abide to. And there will be a lot of contract law there also that we will have to take into account and see how we, patchwork it together.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, but Raquel, but not everything is negative on the contract law, because I met some months ago a digital artist, and he told me that under the conditions set forth in the smart contract, he had something like the droit de suite, so that he was earning money from the transactions that have been made with his works. So he was so happy with the contract because he was earning a lot of money with this. So maybe it's a question of having a regulation. It's maybe Raquel, that the scholars or the specialists in IP law haven't had a role in the conception or the drafting of this type of contracts, or haven't warned sufficiently about the needs in a contract of this nature?
Well, I may say they have, but they have, and let me be also blunt here, but they have in a very American perspective, because they don't have, the DRADE suite there, right? But everything is regulated through contracts. They don't have moral rights, but here come the Creative Commons license, and they put a moral right in a contract. So at the end of the day, contracts may take you further than specific laws. And in that sense, an artist, yes, he might not be making a DRADE suite because he doesn't have a real object that he's selling and is being resold, but there comes a contract, and they put it in a contract as a contractual clause. So I do think that the drafters of these contracts do have a lot of IP lawyers and patent lawyers and trademarks. I'm sure there's a lot of intelligence put there. I wonder whether sometimes it's only one side, and we may benefit from one side of the picture, which is the American. Maybe we should also start making contracts, and that's what we're doing with the personal data and the GDPR, right? We are extending our European GDPR protection beyond the European Union, and we're doing very well. We're very successful in that, and American platforms and everybody sort of comply with it. In terms of copyright, it's perhaps the other way around. But I do think there's a lot of IP knowledge in there.
Yeah.
Maybe from a perspective, right?
Europeans are very successful in issuing regulations.
Yes.
A little bit less on technology, but our technology is regulation.
And they are good at drafting contracts.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's but there is one area of copyright law, IP law, which I believe is really crucial in this field, and not only in that field. It's crucial to the internet itself, and it has been quite neglected. What I have in mind is what I've mentioned already, is basically the form requirements specific to form of a contract, like licensing contract or the transfer of rights contract. I mean, the fact that we failed both at international level and at the European level to create harmonization instruments that would liberalize the formal requirements, I think creates a lot of tensions. And we are, in a sense, all the users are the victims of it, right? Had we had the, let's say, convention, WIPO treaty, another WIPO treaty, or a European directive that would go in the direction of, okay, let's recognize the electronic form of, contracts of transfer of rights, we would avoid a lot of legal uncertainties and issues. And here, that's a problem that contracts cannot solve, because the law of the land is saying, well, this is a formal requirement, and if you do not meet this requirement, the contract is void. It does not exist. So I think I would say that this is a relatively small thing, and but it should be done. I personally believe it should really be done. I don't agree with people who say that, well, we don't have to do much about it. Contracts will regulate that, because I don't believe contracts can regulate it. And I know that for some reason we have problems with that also in other areas, neighboring areas. For instance, we've got this whole body of international conventions dealing with trade in goods, like Vienna Convention, 1980 Vienna Convention. And arbitration convention, from 1950s, where you've got the same problem. You've got their requirements specific to a form of a contract, and it says it has to be in writing, or it can be also sent by telex. Who's using telex? My God. Maybe in Metaverse I will learn again what telex is, but I cannot tell you even what telex is. And here we also face the same problem. Like, it's so hard to liberalize these formal requirements now, that the only attempt I saw was in 2005 New York Convention on electronic contracts. Many people didn't realize that we actually have such convention. It's been signed by, for instance, China, by Singapore, but not by the European Union. And they invented there a very interesting instrument. In Article 25, they said that this convention modernizes and liberalizes formal requirements that you will find in all other conventions of the United Nations. So it's really interesting. Keep that in mind. Article 25 of that 2005 convention. It's really interesting. But unfortunately, this convention did not become a success. It hasn't achieved the success. We've got too few states that actually signed it, and we're still stuck in this world of formal requirements that are definitely from the paper world, the old revolution.
Yeah. So this is driving us to another question, that is the need of regulation for the metaverse. The existence or non-existence, the need of sort of lex mercatoria. Should we rely on the national law? Should we go to a, let's say, international or generally admitted set of rules? Well, something in my view that is similar. What I call a digital jurisdiction, that is the rules that have been created by the platform, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., that have made a definition of what copyright is, what a trademark is, and they have their own procedural rules. So in order to follow the notice and take down, you have to do this and that. And well, you can go before a court, before a national court, but maybe sometimes it's much better to go before this digital court and apply for justice. For the justice, it's administered by these platforms. So, do you foresee, Raquel, the possibility of some sort of lex mercatoria or something like this, some set of rules that could be admitted by everybody that's participating there?
I don't know if it's a lex mercatoria or a lex contractus, as we used to call it, right? At the end of the day, the contracts that you sign to access this platform or this metaverse is going to be the one regulating at least the first level of your activity. And then maybe you will scale it up to a court, a national court, and apply a national law. What's very interesting to see already, and we do not need to look into the future, we already have it here, that many of these terms of use that the platforms have, the YouTube, any Facebook, any American platform, if you let me be also blunt again, they are very much based on American law, right? For instance, and then that law becomes a contract, and then that contract is going to be binding on all the European users, right? Think of we do not have the process of notice and take down in the European, well, some countries do, but it's not in the EU acquis, right? And what these platforms are doing is very much applying the notice and take down procedure that they have in the US Copyright Act, the DMCA, and basically applying it to other ones. Also, the dispute resolution procedure that all this notice and take down brings. So at the end of the day, what we will see probably is how more and more national, territorial copyright laws or data protection, personal data protection, if we do it the reverse, are going to end up being enshrined, sieved into these contracts. And whether we call that a lex mercatoria or a whatever, a
lex metaversum,
whatever. And that's going to be very much the reality that we live in, because the first that's going to be ruling our activity in this metaverse is going to be the contract. And then maybe at a second level, we will have a problem of jurisdiction and applicable law. But look at it this way, think of another example, the Google Books project. I always say the Google Books, when Google scanned all the books in the libraries all around the world, they were using the American fair use, and they were relying on that fair use defense. If Google had been taking into account all the different copyright national laws, the project would not have started, and we wouldn't have that project. So maybe at the end of the day, it's good that we are starting to overcome territoriality and of national laws and go to somewhere different through contracts, through just taking over the risk of being sued, because Google was sued in France and they were, you know, sanctioned for copyright infringement. But at the end of the day, that case is forgotten. And at the end of the day, we have Google Books all over the world.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care about the copyright laws in Europe or all around.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it happens in other fields, such as, for instance, the standard essential patents, where you can be sued here and there and different court decisions and things like that. So who knows if it will be better to have something that is commonly accepted all over the world in order to try to find out solutions. We have a precedent, the UDRP rules.
Yes, we do.
So this could be an issue. Paul, anything to add, or Ulrike, anything to add on this? Because time is going fast and we have some 10 minutes and the audience is raising questions.
Okay, so maybe one point from my side. Yes, it's true that as of today, we do not have our own rules on notice and takedown, and Americans have had it since, oh my God, many years, right? In the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, Section 512, but it's changing. Now we adopted the Digital Services Regulation, and from February next year, we are going to have it.
Yeah, DSA, DMA, yeah.
DSA adopted actually the notice and takedown procedure, the European version. But what was even more interesting is that DSA assumes that platforms will have to kind of enable an appeal procedure to an independent electronic tribunal. And this is really interesting. It's Article 18 of the DSA. I was reading this several times already and studying it carefully, because it can enable the creation of true electronic courts, which won't be tied to any formalistic requirements that you'll find in traditional national procedural laws, right? Which are really difficult to apply, and they are slow. And actually, DSA presupposes that this new court system, which will function separately from traditional courts, but you won't be denied access to traditional courts. You will simply have an opportunity to appeal to an electronic tribunal. Well, this might result in the creation of this lex mercatoria, because lex mercatoria actually requires a forum which will be favorable to these kind of rules, right? I mean, in medieval times, lex mercatoria operated on trade fairs, right? And basically, lex mercatoria was not applied by lawyers per se, but by the most experienced traders who knew the rule of the trade. And we might see a similar pattern if Article 18 of DSA succeeds, and we'll see new platforms. But then the question is, who is going to actually pay for it, pay for all these services and support such platforms? DSA says it cannot be one big player, so it cannot be Facebook or Google. They have to be independent. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe
well, there are some examples currently of decentralized ADR, such as Aragon Court and Cleros Court. But this is in special environments where the players accept the rules. I mean, you accept when you're participating in that, all the conflicts will be solved by that type of courts. And it's the pressure of the community that makes the enforcement, because you don't comply, it will be published. This guy doesn't comply with the regulations, doesn't comply with the decisions. Let me open the floor to the audience, because it's time, and because it's also opening to us another type of issues. For instance, Diego Acuña raises one question that is very interesting. Do you think that the recent development of AI will accelerate the use and massification of the metaverse? For example, creating virtual digital worlds, smart contracts, or digital wallets in a faster way compared to what we have today? This question of the intervention of AI is very real, and it's very important. What do you think about this, Ulrike? AI will have an impact, is having an impact?
AI is already having an impact, but here's probably where I'm more on the skeptical side, because I think there is a what I call great chess hand, a perception of this AI taking over. And I think with any of these technologies, it's really important to understand what the technology currently can or cannot do. And I think AI is super good at some things, and it's really not very good at other things at the moment. So, I mean, if you set AI a very specific task and you make a model to address that task, I think you will have very good effects with it. And AI is improving and changing dramatically. But I sometimes see a lot of the discussion being based on an assumption that AI is almost human-like in its capacity. And I don't think we're there yet. I think what AI is going to be able to do is accelerate some of the things, like a tool for humans in the way how you might create content, which we're already seeing. But I don't think AI as such at the moment is that game changer that will just magic up a metaverse for us.
Yeah, so it's not so menacing yet.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say keep an eye on it, but I come across this in conversations a lot where there is a natural assumption that is made about AI, and maybe that's one of the takeaways from my side of just be a little bit careful in understanding the technology when we're having these discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raquel, ladies
just
first.
a joke.
Raquel.
A bit of a joke saying we at universities are already seeing what AI can do for us and our students and our exercises and our exams. So let me be.
No, please don't talk about ChatGPT. We have enough conversations about ChatGPT and concerns also in my university as well. So, and Paul.
Yes, I mean, if you read the opinions of AI experts, people who develop AI models, and have been in this industry for decades, they all almost unanimously say that we are far away from reaching the stage of, the broader AI or human-like AI. They're all speaking of kind of narrow AI, and they do not understand that hype around AI and this misunderstanding that surrounds this incredible technology. Like, to me, AI, to simplify, is basically statistics 2.0, because all these models are based on statistics, statistical analysis of data. It's just that we are dealing with big data rather than small data sets. That's why I call it statistics 2.0. So in the end of the day, you'll be able to discover patterns in the data if you have a lot of it, right? And then these statistical conclusions can turn out to be useful or useless. It really depends on the application and it depends on your model. Now, will we see creation of metaverse automatically? Probably not for quite some time, but this technology, AI, will definitely accelerate and is already accelerating programming of different worlds, be it, metaverse or other type of virtual realities. So from that angle, it will, because it's already doing that. We have ChatGPT. I know.
Who knows?
About it.
Who knows, Paul?
Amazing capabilities with respect to sharing ideas concerning programming. But there are other tools, like Microsoft purchased for instance, a few years ago, and they launched the Copilot project, which is also helping programmers to code more efficiently with the help of AI. So from that perspective, AI is becoming really a co-programmer. And is therefore,
but every time some person tells me you will work better, this will be for your comfort, and saying things like that, it gets me a little bit nervous. I'm currently reading the book of Max Tegmark, Life 3.0, what means to be a human in the age of artificial intelligence, and I'm getting much more concerned the more I read on it. So who knows? Last question, because we have to give the floor to Camille, who's raising one interesting question. Is blockchain essential to create metaverse? Or maybe being more specific, is public blockchain, which needs to incentive its user to validate the block, thus maybe sensitive for speculation, essential or not? and we can see metaverses in more Second Life vibe, traditional game-like, or in more decentralized manner, with private blockchain validated by its creator. So question is very interesting, but maybe you have to be a wizard to give an answer to this. You know, we've already talked about that, but maybe you have some other thoughts on this issue. In 1 minute, please.
1 minute. Well, there's division between, you know, private and public blockchains. I mean, we'll probably see that more of both types of blockchains, right, emerging. So public blockchains essentially are truly decentralized, right, do not have any authority, right, it relies on consensus mechanisms. And in private blockchains, you do not have this decentralization. You've got one entity, like, you know, the game creator or a financial institution that actually rules the world. And I think we will see both. We will see private companies that will decide to go, you know, and create their own private blockchains and build metaverses around that idea. So simply relying on already quite a mature technology that is behind blockchain. And then you will have those that will want to get connected and trade on platforms that enable, for us, smart contracting, like aforementioned.
All right. All right. So Raquel, I know that you don't like blockchain, so I would like to give the floor to you for this question. But maybe, Ulrike, would you like to add anything on this issue? It's not mandatory, you know.
No, this is probably where I'm not a tech wizard enough. But I mean, my understanding is there's various different technologies that you can build a metaverse on, and blockchain isn't the only one. There's older form and newer forms. So I mean, I think there's a lot of hype. I'm with Raquel around the blockchain, which is why, in some ways, the metaverse and blockchain and NFTs almost merge into one big woolly concept. And let's be quite clear that maybe they're not as merged as we think they are.
Yeah, they are not.
Yeah.
Right.
Ulrike, you made my day. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure.
And okay, and for those that don't like very much the metaverse, let's say like blockchain, let's say that one of the menaces for the blockchain is quantum computing. Is quantum computing a hype? Is that a reality? Who knows? But maybe this will be the topic for another encounter. So I think that we have covered everything, and thank you very much. It has been a very pleasant and interesting conversation, and I've enjoyed a lot, and I hope you have enjoyed as well. And I'm giving the floor now to Manuel de Santos, that will give us the conclusions and maybe some messages or philosophical messages or something like this, and we'll announce the next digital encounter. Manolo, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Javier. Thanks. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everybody. I am just returning from Barcelona. I'm still very impressed with the mobile. Amazing meeting where more than 100,000 people recognizes that is my main 2 days, recognizing how technology moves out of the classic silos, how technology is integrated to each other. And there, the metaverse, I have to confess that the metaverse and the metaverse technologies is one of the divas of the whole event of the time. And this proves that the repeating metaverse as a topic, Laurent, was a real success. I even have the feeling that there are still many issues regarding metaverse. Dealt with the dispute resolution systems, but they were.
I'm sorry, Manuel. Sorry to interrupt. We are losing you. Could you please try and put your microphone closer to your mouth? The connection is not that good.
It is better now?
Yeah, yes, we can at least hear you fine. Thank you.
Just a sec, and I will come to you. I guess you can listen me now better.
Yes, we can. We can.
Yes,
thank you.
very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I'm sorry because I'm with a mobile phone in the middle of the airport and in the middle of a mess. what I wanted to state is that we have just started with the relationship between the metaverse and intellectual property, and I would like very sincerely to thank Ulrike, Raquel, Paul, and Javier. I think you have dealt with the topic in a beautiful way. I would like also to thank Adele Serio and Giris Magarach that will write the report. And most of all, I would like to thank all the attendants. We had around 200 people following us today. And I think this is a great achievement and shows until what extent metaverse and intellectual property is an issue. I wanted to say that there's still many other issues we could have dealt with and we had no time. So there will be certainly in the near future another metaverse and intellectual property. And this shows until what extent this 25th Global Digital Encounter means that the mission of the Global Digital Encounter, so shaking the intellectual property toolkit, is really something we all have to bring on board. Yeah. Just to invite you to the next Global Digital Encounter. It will take place in the 28th of March, and another issue very, very dear, certainly to me, will come up. You know that some weeks ago, Germany ratified the Unified Patent Court. It means that the whole Unified Patent Court plus the unitary patent system will enter into force and will be applied from 1st of June onwards. What does it mean in practical terms? So we will deal with such a very, very fascinating topic. Unitary patent and UPC are on. And then what? And then what for Europe? And then what for Spain, particularly? And then what is going to happen? Remember that the first draft of a European community patent system took place in 1962. More than 60 years later, something come up. This will be the topic of our discussions next month. So thank you very much. And we expect you all with us the 28th of March. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.